In the belly of a city that danced with noise and neon lights, in a shadowed chamber behind the grand, unmarked mansion, a man sat in silence. His name was barely known on the surface. Whispers called him Odogwu, others called him the Collector. To his followers, he was a kingmaker, but his throne was a blood-stained couch, and his crown a wound. The chamber smelled of dried herbs, candle wax and iron. Red drapes hung from the ceiling like silent witnesses. In the dim glow of the ritual flame, his thigh lay bare, a deep wound, oval-shaped and raw, paused faintly as though it breathed, as though it waited. He reached beside him, dipped 2 fingers into a bowl of thick liquid collected earlier that night. Blood, his own. The sacrifice continues.
Mark the next name.
Behind him, his attendant, a wiry man in a grey kaftan, flipped open a weathered ledger. He circled a name carefully, Adora. Far across town, under a rusted zinc roof, 22-year-old Adora Nwachukwu rubbed balm on her cracked knuckles. Her small apartment in Surulere was quiet, except for the soft hum of her roommate's Bible chants and the ticking of a plastic wall clock. It was the 5th night without lights, the 3rd day without food, and the first time she was seriously considering something she swore she never would. She sat on a threadbare mattress, scrolling through old messages until she paused at one. Kemi, babes, just meet him, no stress, he pays well, clean money. Kemi, her best friend, flashy, fearless, always polished like a Lagos magazine cover. Adora had seen the lifestyle, weeks that cost more than rent, weekend trips to Abuja, perfumes that smelled like ambition. But Kemi's kind of money always came with invisible costs. Still, Adora's landlord had knocked again that morning. Her mother had called from the village. Her younger brother's school fees were due. Her pride, once as sharp as a razor, had dulled under the weight of reality. Her finger hovered, then she tapped, dialing. The phone rang once, twice, then a voice, deep, slow and unsettling, answered.
Kemi said you did call. House 14, Olufemi Crescent, 11 p.m. No questions. Don't be late.
The line went dead. Adora stared at the screen. Her hand trembled. Morning brought no comforts. At the restaurant where she worked as a part-time cashier, she dropped a plate out of nervousness. Her boss yelled. She apologized without meeting his eyes. Her thoughts were already at 11 p.m. By afternoon, her sister Chisom called. Their mother had taken ill. She needed help, money, anything.
Ada, you said Lagos would change our lives. Instead, we are watching mommy fall apart. What are you even doing there?
Adora swallowed her shame. She promised to send something soon, then hung up. 11 p.m. came fast. Adora stood before House 14, a massive building with tall black gates and security lights that didn't blink. The street was quiet, almost too quiet. A cold wind brushed her bare shoulders. As she adjusted her simple red gown, she borrowed it from Kemi. The gate creaked open on its own. A silent man led her into the compound. The air was thick, heavy. The house looked normal from the outside, but the inside felt wrong, as if something ancient lived in the walls. She was led into a room bathed in warm candle lights. There, on a leather couch, sat the man, Odogwu, tall, clean-shaven, handsome, in a disturbing way. His eyes, though sharp, knowing and unreadable. He didn't smile, didn't speak, just pointed to a chair opposite him. Adora sat, trying not to tremble. Then he slowly pulled up the wrapper tied around his waist, revealing the wound. It glistened, alive, deep, red. Adora stared, confused.
What is that?
Your tests,
he said, voice calm like a doctor delivering news of death.
You want the 250,000 naira, don't you?
He placed a thick bundle of cash on the table.
Touch it,
he whispered.
10 seconds, nothing more.
Adora froze. The air felt colder now. Her palms were wet.
What is this? This is not what Kemi...
Kemi knows the rules. She passed the test. You want to remain broke? Or do you want the life you have been begging God for?
Her lips parted slightly. Her heart thud against her chest. He leaned closer. His breath smelled like sandalwood and blood.
Touch the wound or leave.
Adora looked at the money, 250,000 naira. Enough to save her home, pay her brother's fees, sent something to her mother, but something wasn't right. She slowly reached out. Her hand hovered just an inch away from the wound. Suddenly, whisper. A voice, thin, inhuman, rushed past her ear like wind through a crack in the wall. Once you test, you belong to us. She jerked back.
Did you hear that?
She gasped. The man smiled. Calm.
Fear is natural, but poverty is permanent.
Adora's eyes locked on the money again. She took a deep breath and leaned forward. As Adora's fingers trembled an inch from the wound, the room seemed to narrow. Shadows lifted. Candles flickered like they were afraid. Her hand finally touched it. The skin around the wound was ice cold, yet it pulsed like second heartbeats. Thick fluid, not quite blood, not quite pulse, oozed slightly against her fingertips. It wasn't pain she felt, it was something else, something ancient and something watching. For 10 long seconds she held the contact. Then, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings, she pulled her hand back and stared at it, sticky, red, glowing faintly under the lights. Odogwu gave a slow nod. He picked up the cash and handed it to her.
Now it begins.
She stumbled out into the dark night like someone emerging from a trance. The gate closed silently behind her. Back in her apartment, Adora collapsed on the mattress, clutching the money like a lifeline. Her roommate Chioma was asleep, her Bible open on her chest. The room was quiet except for Adora's breathing and the faint sound of a rat scurrying across the zinc roof. She couldn't sleep. Her hand tingled. She washed it twice, scrubbed it raw, but the scent, that strange metallic earthy scent, lingered. And that night her dream was the first of many. In the dream, she stood in a long corridor with doors that bled when she touched them. Whispers filled the air. A baby cried in the distance. Then a mirror, her own face smiling at her, but without eyes. She screamed herself awake. The next day, Kemi called.
Babes, you did it. I told you now. You see how clean the money is. Your life don't start to better.
Adora said nothing, just nodded, biting her lips.
Odogwu will call you again soon. If he likes you, Omo, you go chop real money.
Kemi laughed, but it wasn't the same laugh. Something was off. Her voice felt hollow. Elsewhere in a dusty compound in Mushin, Inspector Chijioke Nnaji stared at a wall of missing girls' photos. Some had been gone for weeks, some just days. All had one thing in common. They were last seen wearing something red. Most were struggling students, poor and desperate. Chijioke was tired. This case had eaten his sleep. His fiancée had left. His colleagues whispered that he was obsessed. But something about his disappearances tugged at him. Later that day, Odogwu sat in his chamber. He wasn't alone. A woman, tall, bad, wearing a white wrapper stained with ash, stood before him. Her eyes were milky white. The seer. You fed the wound again, she said without blinking.
Yes,
Odogwu replied. It is satisfied for now. The wound will ask for more. She must return. She must test again. The seer stepped forward, placing her hands over his thigh. She whispered in an old tongue. The wound throbbed. Odogwu didn't flinch. Do not fail the gods, she warned, her voice barely above a whisper, or they will open the gate fully. And what comes through will devour even you. She vanished into the shadows. Back in her room, Adora tried to distract herself. She sent 100,000 naira to her mother. She gave 50,000 naira to Chisom. She paid her rent. For the first time in months, she breathed easy. But every night brought dreams, darker and louder. And every morning, her face looked paler, her eyes more distant. Her roommate noticed.
Are you okay?
Choma asked.
You are changing. I'm fine,
Adora said, forcing a smile. But the weekend, Odogwu called again.
Come tonight, same place. Your payment will double.
Adora didn't hesitate this time. She dressed quickly, wore the same red gown, the same perfume. Her hands no longer shook. This time, it wasn't just touching. He asked her to lick the wound, and she did. The moment her tongue touched the flesh, her vision blurred. Her body stiffened. The wound tasted like burnt coins and salt. When it was over, he handed her a black envelope. Inside, 500,000 naira.
You are chosen now,
Odogwu said.
But next time, the gods will ask for something more.
That night, she woke up bleeding from her nose. Choma screamed, called their neighbor, but Adora waved it off.
It's just stress.
she whispered, wiping the blood on her sleeve.
I am fine.
But her eyes said otherwise. The city didn't sleep, it only pretended to. Lagos nights were painted with neon lights, the scent of grilled suya, and the sharp whistle of danfo conductors. But under the cover of that familiar chaos, Adora was changing. She had gone back again and again, and now her purse was full, but her soul hollow. Each visit to Odogu left her more detached. The wound no longer disgusted her. It called to her like a shrine she had secretly built inside her. It was a Monday morning. Chioma, ever watchful, noticed the red beads around Adora's wrists.
You wear that now?
She asked. Adora shrugged, brushing it off.
It's nothing, just fashion.
But Chioma knew better. Beads like that weren't sold in boutiques. They were spiritual symbols, charms worn by those tied to something older. That night, Chioma called someone, her older brother, a deacon, and also a police informant. She didn't give Adora's name, not yet, but she dropped a whisper. Meanwhile, in a dark chamber beneath the city, Odogu knelt before an altar shaped like a rib cage. A low voice, inhuman, echoed through the walls. The blood has satisfied us, but the soul must follow. The girl must belong to the order, fully. A tremor passed through the floor. Odogu bowed deeper. Elsewhere in the city, Inspector Chijioke Nnaji visited a morgue. The body of a girl had been found in a lagoon, hands bound with red threads. The autopsy found strange salt deposits under her tongue and bruises that glowed faintly under UV lights. He stared at her face, his stomach twisted. Back at Adora's apartment, things were unraveling. She heard voices at night, whispers behind walls. She no longer dreamt, she hallucinated. Faces in the mirror, a voice chanting her name from the tap. Then one morning, her mother called.
Ada, you sent 100,000 naira again? Yes, Mama, I got a contract from school.
She lied.
I dreamed of you last night. You were walking into a hole filled with snakes. Mama, I am fine. Stop. Come home, let me pray for you.
Adora ended the call before tears betrayed her. Her mother didn't understand. She couldn't. Later that evening, Odogu sent a driver. No text, no call, just a knock. She followed. But this time, the location was different. A hotel, grand, eerie, and too quiet for its size. Red curtains, dim lights, mirrors that didn't reflect quickly enough. He was waiting in a black robe.
Tonight,
He said softly,
you will speak the vow.
What vow?
To never speak of this wound again. To bind your tongue with silence in exchange for more than money.
She hesitated. He reached for her hand and placed it gently on the wound again. She smiled. Outside in an unmarked car, Chijioke watched. He wasn't alone. Two plainclothes officers sat beside him, eyes on the building.
We tell her when she comes out.
Chijioke whispered.
We get a name, we follow the money.
But what they didn't know was no one even lives after the vow. Inside, Adora stood in front of the altar, her hands now tied with red thread. A circle of candles flickered. The seer watched from the corner, humming a sound that made her ears bleed. Odogu raised a bowl.
Say it.
He whispered.
I vow to protect the wound. Say it again.
I vow to protect the wound.
The moment the words left her lips the third time, the candles blew out on their own. A gust of cold air swept through the room, and Adora collapsed. Darkness. That's all Adora remembered when she woke up. She was lying on a cold, tiled floor, surrounded by melted candle wax and a ring of chalky red powder. Her wrists were loose now, but her chest felt bound, tight with something she couldn't name. She looked up and saw Odogu seated and watching her, but this time he wasn't smiling.
You crossed over,
He said.
You belong now.
Adora tried to speak, but her throat ached like she'd been screaming in silence for hours. The seer stood behind her, arms folded. The wound fed on with desire. It has marked you. Adora crawled to her feet, dizzy and scared.
Can I leave now?
She asked. You've already left, the seer replied. Just not the way you think. Elsewhere, Inspector Chijioke sat at his desk, flipping through old files. Each folder had stories of missing girls, unexplained deaths, and ritual traces. Something about this latest case gnawed at him. The red beads, the silence, the money. He typed a name into his screen. Odogu Okeke. Nothing to claim. So he dug deeper through land records, shell companies, and church donations that didn't smell holy. Eventually, he found a link, an orphanage, registered under a different name, but the signature matched Odogu's handwriting from a property purchased 10 years ago.
Bingo!
Chijioke muttered. He grabbed his coat. Back in Adora's world, her friends were beginning to notice her withdrawal. Chioma was the loudest.
She barely speaks to us. She's always spacing out.
She told Adora's friend, Ife.
Maybe she's stressed.
School hustle, all that, Ife offered.
No, this is different. Her eyes don't blink normal anymore. Are you hearing yourself?
Ife asked. You sound mad. But Chioma had seen the change firsthand, especially in the mirror that Adora now covered with a scarf. And the bead, it had turned darker. At the orphanage, Chijioke posed as a donor. He smiled at the receptionist, walked through the halls, kids played, Chicha smiled, but something about the place felt off. Too perfect to rehearse. Then he found a back room, locked. He picked it open. Inside, it wasn't toys or books. It was jars, old, dusty jars labeled with girls' names. Inside each, nails, hair, red clothes, and what looked like blood. Chijioke's blood ran cold, and there on the wall he saw it, a massive drawing of a man with a bleeding wound. At the base, the keeper of wealth. That same night, Adora was invited to a gathering, a mansion on the outskirts, hidden in a forested area that didn't appear on Google Maps. Other girls were there, dressed in red. Some were whispering. One was crying. Odogu arrived in a black SUV and walked past them, straight to the main hall. A feast was laid, but no one touched the food. He stood before them.
Not all of you will survive tonight,
He said calmly.
The gods are hungry, and one of you must go with them.
Adora's heart pounded.
But the one who offers the greatest sacrifice,
He added.
shall be made a queen.
Outside the gate, hidden in the bush, Chijioke crashed with two officers.
We go in when the signal comes,
He whispered.
not a second before.
Inside, the ceremony had begun. The girls were asked to remove their beads and drop them in a bowl. When Adora hesitated, the seer approached her. You think you've gained something? She hissed. You've only been borrowed, and what's borrowed must be paid back. Suddenly, one of the girls collapsed, foam at her mouth, eyes rolled back. She convulsed, then went still. Everyone froze. Odogu smiled.
The gods have chosen.
Adora stared at the girl's lifeless body. Something inside her cracked. She turned and ran through the corridor, past the guards, out the back door, and there, waiting as if by divine timing, Chijioke grabbed her.
You are safe now,
He said,
Talk to me, who is behind this?
but Adora couldn't speak. She looked back. Odogu was watching from the balcony. His eyes didn't rage, they smiled, and then he vanished into the shadows. Rain pelted the rooftop of the police safe house like war drums. Inside, Adora sat on a simple mattress, wrapped in a grey hoodie, too big for her frame. Her eyes scanned the small room like a prisoner waiting trial. But she wasn't the one on trial. Her soul was. Inspector Chijioke stood at the door, watching her through the one-way glass. His colleague, Sergeant Efe, folded his arms beside him.
You sure she's not involved?
Efe asked.
I've seen girls like this. Some aren't victims, they are initiates.
Chijioke didn't reply. He simply opened the door and walked in.
Adora,
He said gently.
I need names, places, anything you remember.
She looked up, her voice barely audible.
I saw a name in the mansion, on a document, Opuno Estate. That's where they hide.
Chijioke's eyes narrowed.
That name again?
The same address connected to child trafficking rings 5 years ago. He stood.
Thank you.
As he walked out, Adora grabbed his wrist.
He will come for me.
Who?
Odogu, he doesn't forgive escape.
Elsewhere in a candlelight chamber, Odogu sat before a pool of black water. The seer stood beside him, her face hidden behind a crimson veil. She ran, the seer said, but the wound she licked binds her still. Odogu dipped his fingers into the pool. Ripples formed. Images of Adora in the safe house flickered on the surface.
She must return,
He said.
or the balance will demand blood.
He stood up, turning to his most trusted man, Kenneth.
Send a gift to her family. Let them know she crossed a line.
That night in Adora's family home in Aba, Her younger brother Nonso returned from football practice to find a box at the gate. Curious, he brought it inside. Their mother opened it and screamed. Inside the box was a single red bead and a photo of Adora asleep. The back of the photo read, "Return what is ours or lose more." Back in Lagos, Chijioke's investigation was taking shape. He had names, bank records, even security footage of girls entering the compound. But there was a problem: no warrants. His superior at the station was stalling. Too many strings, too many fingers in dirty pots.
Back off,
His boss said.
we are not bringing war to that estate.
But Chijioke didn't back off. He called someone he hadn't spoken to in years, his mentor, now a retired DSS agent.
I need one night.
Chijioke said.
One night inside Opono Estate.
Meanwhile, Adora received a call from home. Her mother's voice trembled.
Baby, who are these people? What have you brought to us?
Adora broke down in tears. She begged to return home, but Chijioke warned her.
If you go back, they will use your family to draw you out. You are safer here.
She nodded, but her spirit was breaking. Later that night, Adora had a dream. She was back in Odogu's mansion. Girls were kneeling in a circle. One by one, they were disappearing into smoke. The seer approached her. "Blood paid the price for your wealth," she whispered. "Now who will pay for your escape?" Adora woke up gasping for air. Sweat soaked her sheets. The red bead on her wrist had cracked. In a hidden underground room, Odogu prepared the next phase. He stood before a burning cauldron, shirtless, his wound bleeding again.
She was meant to be the bridge.
He said. The seer poured ash into the flame. "Then break the bridge." Odogu chanted something in a lost tongue. The flames turned blue. A spiritual attack had begun. At the safe house, Adora collapsed. Her eyes turned white. She convulsed, screamed, then stopped moving entirely. Officers rushed in. Chijioke shouted,
Call an ambulance!
But something was off. The walls of the safe house began to tremble slightly. Lights flickered, then silence. Adora's body lay still, but her lips moved slowly. A whisper.
He's coming.
The night air was thick, almost suffocating, as Odogu sat shirtless on the bare floor of his hidden chamber. The wound on his thigh jagged, deep and always glistening, throbbed with a pulse of its own. Around him, chalk drawings glowed faintly on the floor, and a red-robed priest stood behind him, silently observing the ritual in motion. The candles flickered violently, shadows dancing on the mud walked like spirits preparing for a feast.
You have one soul left to do, boo.
The priest said.
One more, and the door opens.
Odogu opened his bloodshot eyes, his lips curling into a bitter smile.
Tonight, she comes willingly.
Elsewhere in town, Adora stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her face looked strange to her now, hollowed out, tired, older than her 22 years. The pile of cash on her bed, 1 million naira in crisp rubber band stacks, felt more like a curse than a blessing. Behind her, Chioma stormed in, eyes swollen from crying.
Adora, please don't go. I had a terrible dream. You were bleeding. They buried you alive.
Adora didn't blink. She was used to nightmares now, awake or asleep.
I just need to do this one last time, Chioma.
Adora turned slowly. Her face was wet like stone.
This is it. After tonight, I disappear. Start afresh.
But even as she said it, something in her got twisted. In the dim light of a quiet tricycle parked on a dark street corner, Chijioke tapped the screen of his phone. He was watching her location in real time. He had been quiet for weeks, gathering information, tracing the alerts that popped up on her bank notification, cross-checking names she mentioned in passing, the ritualist location, the whisper of a wound ritual. Tonight, he wasn't alone. Beside him sat Inspector Tunde, eyes sharp, pistol loaded.
She's walking into a death trap.
Chijioke muttered.
Then let's bring the walls down.
The ritual chamber glowed red as Odogu sat cross-legged, breathing slowly. On the floor beside him sat a bowl, a black ceramic vessel filled with the dark, sticky remains of previous sacrifices. Adora stepped inside. She was dressed in red, just like he asked. Her legs trembled, but she held her head high.
Come,
he said. Without a word, she moved forward. The smell of the wound was stronger now, sour, almost metallic. She leaned in, her eyes fluttered. But just before she could begin, the door burst open with a crash.
Police, everyone down.
Candles flew. The Okija priest screamed and tossed powder into the air. The wall shook as if a beast had awakened beneath the earth. A strange wall filled the air. Adora screamed and collapsed to the ground, blood gushing from her nose. The ritual had been interrupted, but the spirits were already present. Chijioke launched at Odogwu. The two men wrestled, crashing into shelves of charms and ancient books. Statues toppled, fire erupted from the spilled ritual powder.
You don't understand what I gave for this.
Odogwu growled.
You don't deserve to breathe.
Chijioke backed back. And then, silence. Odogwu stopped moving. His head dropped sideways, his eyes fixed, unblinking. The priest had vanished, and Adora lay still. 1 week later, a quiet funeral was held in town. The doctor couldn't explain it. Her lungs had filled with blood, but there were no wounds, no trauma, nothing they could trace. Chioma sobbed uncontrollably beside the coffin. Chideke stood beside her, fists clenched. Her mother held his shoulder gently.
You tried,
She whispered,
you saved others.
but Chijioke couldn't stop thinking. If only he had acted earlier. As the final sand was tossed on her grave, a strong breeze swept across the land. Far off in the distance, beneath the shadow of an abandoned tree, a red-robed figure watched them, then disappeared. Greed always promises gain, but when mixed with darkness, someone always pays. Hello fam, thank you for watching through to the end of this video. Please consider subscribing to our channel if you are yet to do that. Like and share this video, and also meet on our next story. Bye.